What's up, Pirates? Wraith and Jim here with AwakenedTCG, and today we're back with another video. As you can see by the title and what's on screen, today we're talking about meta breakers, cards that are going to shake up the meta in OP04 and really just, give the whole meta a different outlook from what it is in OP03. And then, sorry to Red and Purple, as they really didn't get any support that's really meta breaking.
Yeah, unfortunately, the red and purple support supports the VV archetype and the yellow-purple crocodile archetype, which are both honestly only bad decks because their support isn't that good, which is exactly why there are no cards here that we would consider meta breakers.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into our first color here. We have green.
Yes,
we're gonna be highlighting two cards for every single color, just to preface. There are like a couple that could be considered like really good, but we don't really think they're meta breakers. We think there's probably about two for every color that would be considered in that tier.
Yeah, just about 1 to 2 per color, other than red and purple, as we just talked about. So here we have green. The first card we're going to take a look at is Doflamingo. So this is a 10 drop character that has 10,000 power, and his on play effect reads: up to 3 of your opponent's leader and characters will not become active during their next refresh phase, which means not only do you have free reign to do whatever you want the turn you play him with your current characters and leader, for the whole next turn, those up to three characters or leader that you chose are still going to be rested. So this sets up lethal, this clears board, gives you a whole extra turn to, play more things on board. It just gives you so much more momentum to be able to, go for game basically. This card here, on top of all that, is not leader locked. It does not have any requirements for you to run this card. This card can be played in every single green deck. This card here is probably the strongest green card to come out, and that's why we have it here first as our first meta breaker. It's an insane card.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting. As someone that's play tested against this card, I would even consider these not becoming active sometimes just straight KOs, because these cards are becoming useless for the next turn, and the next turn might be the only turn that matters in the game. If you have two big bodies on board and you swung with leader, this card is so powerful. You have to think about it and you have to play around it. This is something that's going to be prevalent against any green deck, and you're going to have to think, even if you have two fantastic swings, am I getting 10 cost Doflamingo next turn? Because if I am, I probably lose the game.
Yeah, definitely a card to look out for. Super strong. And then on the other end here we have Sugar. This is a 2 cost character, 0 power, but that's not why you play it. Her effect reads: opponent's turn, once per turn, when your opponent plays a character, if your leader has the Don Quixote pirate type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, then rest this character. And then she has an on-play effect, which is not locked to a leader. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with cost 4 or less. So I have been playtesting Doflamingo extensively, and so I know that this card here is pretty insane. It gets you value in turns where maybe you don't see a good turn. This can change that and get you a lot of value out of your opponent's hand. And then on top of that, the opponent's turn effect, besides it getting KO'd or returned to hand, because those are the only two situations where the opponent's turn once per turn effect would not activate. When your opponent plays a character, you get to choose which character to rest, and you are forced to use this effect once your opponent plays a character. But let's say that you're playing Katakuri and you have a Sugar on board, they 10 mom, boom, you choose to rest their 10 mom, basically allowing you to set up a Doflamingo turn, and then you play Doflamingo. It's not getting restood for basically that turn and the next one. So two turns, like he was saying, it's basically a KO. So Sugar plays perfectly into Doflamingo, and I think this combo here is going to be insane.
Yeah, not to mention just the on play, rest the 4 for 2 was already good. If Zoro plays a 1 cost on turn 1, you could play this on turn 2 or turn 3. Sorry, for whatever turn you can swing first and then swing into it for free. And then whatever next card they play, it's getting rested. Not to mention this card's once per turn on opponent's turn effect. It's mandatory. You cannot choose to activate this. Whatever the first card they play is, you need to activate this effect and rest the card on board. So technically you can play around it, but decks like Yellow that want to play these big cards like Katakuri, Big Mom, 7-drop on curve, and they're only playing one card per turn, this card is going to absolutely destroy because you're always going to get your best target.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Not to mention these alt arts are fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna be showing off the alt arts for all of these cards that we're gonna be talking about. But yeah, overall, green in a very good spot, at least as far as the new Dofi leader is concerned. So yeah, green players are up right now.
Yep. Next up, we have blue. We're gonna have two cards from blue here. First up is going to be our SR of the set. It's going to be Kaido. He is a 10 cost 12,000 power character, and on play you can return up to one character with the cost of 8 and one character with the cost of 3 to the owner's hand. So this is either you or your opponent. Say they only have one big 8 cost and you have like a 3 cost with an on play that you'd want to reuse. You can send their 8 cost back and your card back and replay it. Or you can send 2 good 8 and 3s back on their side of the board and just a massive tempo swing. 10 drops like this are the only 10 drops that are going to be good, and they're 10 drops that do something on play and make an impact on the board, so you spending 10 Dawn doesn't cost you next turn.
I mean, this Kaido, it's a, not only is it a big 10 drop vanilla stat line body with the 12k power, it can just win you games. You know, if on their turn they just used all their mana and played, let's say like if we go back to Dofi, they play a 7 cost film Luffy, and then they play a 3 drop Nami to get a search off. Boom, if this is your next turn, they're going right back to hand, no blocker, no Nami, and now they have to deal with a 12k body on their next turn. So like you said, huge tempo swing and definitely needed in blue. Definitely going to be it's going to be a force for sure.
Blue struggled with having big bodies, but once this card has been printed, blue is never going to struggle with that again. Just a generic card, not leader locked. Fantastic card. Next up, we have Red Rock. It is going to be a 6 cost event with the Straw Hat type. So searchable if you run blue and red Vivi with 1 cost Nami. And its main effect is you can just place one character at the bottom of its owner's deck. No restriction, any character, bottom deck for 6. And the trigger is place up to one character with a cost of 4 or less at the bottom of the other's deck. That is going to hit a lot of crucial cards. A lot of these triggers are 3 or less. This one's a 4, which is pretty crucial.
Yeah, I mean, blue already had 3,000 worlds, and so that was a 5 drop bottom deck for 4 cost, which is decent. Definitely not game breaking, but definitely a very good card. For 2 more Dawn, now you can bottom deck any card you want in the game. So I mean, this event is insane.
Yeah, against decks that go low like Zoro or something, like their highest cost card is say a Marco. This is not going to be good unless they run 9 cost Whitebeard. This is a fantastic card against 9 cost Whitebeard. But against decks that go low to the ground, this card is it's a brick. It's a really bad brick. It has no counter. But against most decks that are running these big 10 cost, 9 cost, 8 cost threats, this card just gets rid of it for 6 Dawn. It's like they didn't even do anything, and you are Dawn plus usually for the most part.
Yeah, and for the most part, blue decks don't really worry too much about breaking because there's definitely cards that allow you to cycle your hand.
That's true.
And even there's a new 3-drop 2k counter that really just put your hand into your deck, shuffle, draw the same amount back. So, I mean, there's definitely ways to cycle. So, don't mind this being too much of a dead card when you can just cycle your hand and throw this out.
100%. Let's go next to black. We unfortunately skipped purple as we were saying, but they really don't have any good cards this set that are going to make any big shakeups in the meta. First up, we're going to have Kyros. This, if you run Rebecca, is basically going to be your leader. Your leader can't swing every turn, so this card is swinging every turn. But let's go over its effect. It's a 3 cost, 5,000 power character, and it's going to read, if this character would be KO'd, you may rest your leader or Karita Coliseum, which is the stage that most Rebecca decks do run. And then on play, if your leader is Rebecca, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 1 or less, and then trash 1 card from the top of your deck. So it's a 3/5 vanilla stat line on play that KOs a 1. That's already good. And then on play, and then also it cannot be KO'd for the most part. If your Rebecca and Karita Coliseum are standing, they would need to swing into this card 3 different times for it to actually get KO'd. Basically, this card is never going to get killed. It's weak to bottom decks and back to hands, but KO effects, this card is going to be completely immortal against.
Yeah, super strong card. And then Rebecca already has so much combos. So like if let's say you have a 10 drop Kuzan on board, giving -5 to everything on board, dropping a Kyros will kill a 6 drop. Like that's insane, right? So there's so many little combos that you can throw into that deck that allow this card to even be a card where you can just KO straight up a character as you play it.
Yeah, this card is absolutely fantastic. It's pretty busted, honestly, but it is what makes Rebecca work, I feel.
Yeah.
So next up, we have another Rebecca deck, another Just Rosa type card, also with the Straw Hat archetype. It's going to be Luffy. He is a 7 cost, 7,000 character, and this character can also attack active characters. So they do not need to be rested. Luffy just can swing into them. Very strong effect, but that's not all. He's going to have another effect, which is activate main once per turn. You may return 7 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, and then you can set them as active. However, this character will not become active during your next refresh phase, so it's kind of a give and take. If you see game, this card can go for 2 very large swings, especially with cards like King Kong Gun that are going to give him plus 6k and double attack.
Yeah.
So this card's going to be your game ender, and it's also going to be a really good card to clear board with. Sometimes you don't even need to swing twice. You can just swing into something that you want dead, and then use his effect to restand him so they can't attack into him. Very versatile card.
Yeah, the Luffy being able to attack characters that are active is very insane. This card here, just being able to restand, because Rebecca deck, you want to trash cards, so you'll basically, by the time you play Luffy, you will always have 7 cards in trash to be able to restand.
Oh yeah.
And even sometimes, if you're playing from behind, playing the Luffy swinging into something in your opponent's field and then restanding him and swinging again, and leaving your Luffy just frozen for a turn is fine sometimes if that's what it takes. But you have that option to always double use him if needed. And so I think that's what makes him really strong, right? So it's like you can play him to go for game, you can play him to clear board instantly.
If you have the stage.
If you have the stage active, which most times you do. I think most Rebecca decks run 3/4 Coliseum, so you'll most often see 1 or 2 by the time you get to your turn 4, turn 5. But yeah, overall I think these 2 cards here definitely make the Rebecca deck, and be on the lookout because we're going to see a lot of Rebeccas.
If you pulled these alt arts and you are planning on playing Rebecca, I would keep them, and if you're not, sell them instantly. Next up, we have yellow.
All right, so no red, obviously we already talked about that, but we do have yellow. Yellow is an archetype where this color has a very vanilla type of decks, because OP03 was the first time we got introduced to this color, so there wasn't much variety to go off of.
Yeah, there was only a certain amount of good cards, so every deck was pretty much the same. Yeah,
so now that changes. Now we get the best trigger on a 2K on beige here. Amazing altar, by the way. But trigger, up to one of your opponent's leader or character can't attack this turn. So not only do we get a 2K counter, we can run 4 of in the deck. We run a trigger to, if we ever see this on the top of our life, we can send it to the bottom to potentially save you from a lethal turn. And I don't know why this card was printed. Best trigger in the game on a 2K counter. Not much else to say for me.
Yeah, this card is just way too strong. You would be able to play around it if it didn't say that you can also make the leader not attack, which is usually the best target. because now they have to rest their characters, because resting leader usually doesn't make any difference. But getting this off of trigger and saving a game or just making a turn much harder for them is going to be absolutely fantastic. Not to mention it's a 2K. There is nothing bad about this card, and it's just going to be a 4 of staple, and I think every yellow deck that exists from this point on.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, we have Sanji. So Sanji is a 4 cost character with 5,000 power. So not quite the vanilla stat line, but still definitely strong, and you know, definitely a card you would still want to play just from your hand. He has 1,000 counter. Not only is he a blocker, he has a trigger where you can discard 1 card from your hand and you can play the card. So this is the first time we ever see a card that not only has counter, has an effect like blocker, can trigger and be played from hand, and on top of that have a decent stat line. Usually if it had all this effects, you would see a 4 drop, a 4 cost card with 4,000 power. You wouldn't see it have with 5. And so I think, in my opinion, this is one of the most versatile cards in yellow because it just has so much uses. You need a counter, you can counter. You need a blocker, you can play it for blocker. You know, you need a character to swing with on board for lethal, you can do that. Oh, you got a trigger? Let me play a 5,000 power unit on board.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting card with just, as Wraith said, a million different uses. It also kind of fills the hole that yellow had, which they had really no blockers except for like the 3/1 brulees that are really easy to get rid of. This card, a lot harder to get rid of. The 4-drop stat line is kind of out of the range of a lot of things, as a lot of KOs and bottom decks or whatever else are at 3. This card's at 4, which is dodging those, and it's at 5k, which means if you want to get rid of it with like a small red pop effect, you're gonna have to lower its power, making it even harder to get rid of. But very versatile, a blocker, much needed in yellow that you can play off of life. So yeah, nothing bad about this card. It's, again, I think another card that's going to be a 4 of staple in every yellow deck from this point on.
Yeah, I mean, super good, super good. Just being able to use it however you please in certain situations is just so good. Like, imagine every single card in your deck was a Sanji. Like, you can counter when you want, you can play blocker when you want, you can have, you know, characters with, he already has 5,000 base stat line. So I mean, aside from Whitebeard, you can always swing at leader if you need that extra pressure. So I don't know, this is another character to add. Like, you already have Pero, Cracker, Smoothie, now this to be able to play from life. I think yellow next set is gonna be top 3. You know, it's too many triggers not to.
Yeah, let's all pray that it isn't that good, but sadly I fear it is.
All right, Pirates, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I appreciate all the support. Make sure to like this video, comment down below what card you're most excited about, and if you have a favorite alt art. But regardless, we're going to see you guys on the next video. So make sure to sub to our channel. We drop at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday we drop at 9 a.m. All Pacific Standard Time. So, you know, be on the lookout for when we drop videos. We're also going to be sprinkling in shorts from here on out, you know, daily, maybe not, maybe we'll skip a couple of days. But regardless, we're going to be dropping a ton of content still. So you guys stay tuned for that. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.